I'll get it figured out at some point. All right.
I mean, Warren Sharp's our guy, but he might have just pulled the meanest scam on you.
I just want to cancel my membership. Warren Sharp, if you're watching this, let me cancel my free week. I don't know why it's so hard. Anyway, time to
another week in the books.
Yeah, another week in the books. We can get right into it. Last night, I think a lot of people are probably gonna have a random excuse for we all knew the Jets were bad. The Jets were 3-point underdogs at home to the Chargers last night. Like 92% of the money was on the Jets. We saw every single quote unquote personality on TV pick the Jets to win the game. And they went out there and laid an absolute egg again with their offense. And it kind of led me to start thinking who is to blame for this entire situation. And we can sit here and obviously blame Zach Wilson because he's been atrocious. But the real people who are to blame are Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas.
Yeah. So I've got some stats here. I mean, if you're just looking at the numbers, like 33, Zach Wilson was 33 for 49. Not terrible for 263 yards. I mean, no picks, no touchdowns. But then if you go to this next stat, 8 sacks and a QBR of 17.9. So, like, that's not great. They just keep putting this kid out there knowing that they're going to get little to no production on the offensive side of the ball. And it is partially Zach Wilson, partially Robert Saleh, and partially that front office for not going out and trying to get any type of help on the offensive side of the ball at the quarterback position. It's been really bad. They're wasting a phenomenal defense
for the second year in a row.
I can't seem to wrap my head around why they think that this was a good idea. Now, they got lucky with 2 games, but I don't understand why they couldn't have gone out and just brought in somebody even until Rodgers got healthy. Now, who knows when that is going to be? I think he might come back this year, but we see Josh Dobbs walk into Minnesota. Why couldn't they have done that?
Laziness, inept front office, and a bad coaching staff. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. For them to sit there and genuinely feel like, even after last year, okay, yeah, like Zach's going to be our guy for the rest of the season. They said that right away. Saleh even said in his press conference today, I just got done watching it, that they were like, do you ever think about activating Trevor Siemian like up to the active roster? He was like, absolutely not. Like,
it's unbelievable.
So I wanted to go through a little bit of a timeline of the Jets over this last year. I won't even go back to the Zach Wilson draft. Just this year, they hired Nathaniel Hackett.
Aaron Rodgers guy.
Then they went and signed Lazard to a 4-year contract.
Another Aaron Rodgers guy.
They signed Mecole Hardman to a 1-year deal. Absolute flop. They
7 yards receiving.
They signed Randall Cobb to a 1-year deal. They drafted Will McDonald, who is a healthy and active every single week. That's who they took the 16th overall pick this year with, and he doesn't play. They traded Denzel Mims. They traded Elijah Moore. Then Corey Davis retires. So there you go. You have 2 talented young wide receivers walk out of the door, and then Corey Davis retires.
To be fair, Will McDonald did play last night.
He's been a healthy and active a few weeks, so my bad.
No, you're good.
So, and for my eyes, I don't see him making much of an impact. So maybe
you're completely right. He plays sparingly.
They signed Dalvin Cook, absolute flop. You missed on Zach Wilson. You wasted 2 years of a defense. And then you traded for Aaron Rodgers. I said on the first podcast of this year, I said when the Jets play the Eagles, blah blah blah, this, that, and the third, I'll be shocked if Aaron Rodgers will even be able to walk behind that offensive line. It took one drive on the opening drive of the season for him literally not be able to walk and to miss the entire year. The Jets are an absolute dumpster fire, and actually the only way to solve this is to get Saleh out of there and to get Joe Douglas out of there. I think they've done a decent job. I think they've done a really good job of the defense. I think they've done a really good job of drafting people like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and having them be dogs. But other than that, and the decisions that have been made over the last 2 years, they're ruining this Jets organization. They're just fucking everything up.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we haven't had any defensive players kind of. I don't know what the vibe is on that defensive side of the ball, but there has to be a certain point where you're going over to that offensive room, offensive coordinator, whatever, and saying, hey, let's get this figured out because we're out here busting our ass every week, keeping you guys in football games, and you're not doing jack shit about it.
You have the answer to that. If you watch Robert Saleh's press conference today, you have the answer. They ask him that. It's a group effort. Is it Zach's fault? No, Zach sees the defense really well. Hackett's doing a really good job with Zach. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know what dirt Zach Wilson has on Robert Saleh, but him being so like sure that this is the guy and this is who he needs to stick by is literally losing him his job. He is 15-27 as a head coach for the New York Jets, and for the last 2 years, it has been absolutely inexcusable rolling Zach Wilson out there, which I think everybody can pretty much agree upon that he's one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the entire league.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely in that bottom 5, no doubt about it. Yeah, what I was going to go off of was we saw who was the defensive tackle from the Commanders like 2 weeks ago that was like, I'm effing tired of this.
Montez Sweat.
Was it him? I thought it was Payne.
No, it was Montez Sweat. Oh, no, it was Montez Sweat.
Either way, I'm surprised we haven't heard any rumblings of anything like that from that defensive side of the ball. I'd be furious week in and week out just with how bad the offense has been. And it's not like the Chargers are that great of a defensive team. And to put up 6 points, not score a touchdown is just so bad. And it's been week in and week out. Even
in the press conference today, he was like, if you would have told me that we just gave up 14 points and held them under 200 some passing yards, I would have told you that it was a wrap. It's just like, okay, well, we just watched the game play out and you guys got your dicks kicked in for 4 quarters and you guys weren't even slightly competitive on the offensive side of the football. If you didn't have Greg the leg, you wouldn't stand a snowball's chance in hell to even put points up on the board.
Yeah, they wouldn't have scored this entire game. I'm fully convinced if they didn't have Greg Zuerlein out there. He's been their best, I guess, offensive player this year. And I feel bad for Jets fans. There's a lot of teams out there that kind of fall in the same category of just having elite defenses and just pure frustration on the offensive side of the ball. But especially this team, because we've seen how good they've been the last 2 years and just how inept they are on offense.
Yeah, it's bad. Fire Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. It's time. We've seen enough. We know the outcome. They seem to be stuck in their ways, and their ways have been proven wrong. And like that's like, but one thing that I really want to hammer on, and then we can move on from this topic, is yesterday, every single person in America, I'm in a betting Discord, people who are are that on the Ringer, we're on podcast, betting podcast. Everyone was on the Jets yesterday. Everybody seemed to think that the Jets were in a position to keep this game close and potentially win. Raheem Palmer said that his model had the game at a pick 'em. So even Vegas thought that these guys had a chance against the Chargers. They didn't. I was texting Nick about it. Nick texted me back and said, "You're the only person in America that doesn't think the Jets are a good football team." And I sat there for like 5 minutes and I was like, okay, am I really going to put money on Zach Wilson, or am I just going to put money on Justin Herbert and be happy for the night? And I slammed the the Chargers -3, and it wasn't even a sweat. So, so to have that much of the public backing and respect from the sports books and all of the above, and to go out there and lay a complete egg is definitely telling of where you're at as a football team. You need to change something.
Yeah, I was earlier in the day, I was looking at this game and I was like, I kind of like the Jets here. But then as the day went on, I had a similar epiphany that you did, where sat back and thought, why would I bet any money on Zach Wilson?
Stupid.
So I ended up just taking the under. I had Breece Hall to have 50+ rush yards. And then I had that little fuck over in Los Angeles, Eckler, to have 25 receiving yards, and he had 23. I mean, the guy had 7 targets and dropped 5 of them. So
yeah, rough game for him.
I lost that one. But yeah, I'm glad that I thought about it a little longer and ended up just staying away from the Jets. That game sucked to watch.
Yeah, it sucked. Well, it felt good to watch because I cashed the bet.
Yeah, of course.
So it felt good to watch it happen, and it felt even better to watch the Jets crash and burn, because that was a team. Even I still even feel extremely strong that if Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback for this team, I really just genuinely don't know how much of a difference it would make from their win-loss aspect. But their offense would obviously be better, but the O-line's still bad. I still think the wide receivers are extremely questionable, and that's pretty much all there is to say.
Yeah. Yep. I think we covered it. I do have a couple just like general housekeeping things that I wanted to bring up here.
Okay.
First, I want to shout out Keenan Allen, 10,000 receiving yards last night. Him and Antonio Gates are the only 2 Chargers to do it. Antonio Gates had 11,841 yards. So congrats to Keenan Allen. I think that's a guy that we probably both like.
Yeah, I just traded for him in fantasy this week.
Another thing I have here is Jordan Schultz, NFL Insider, reported earlier that Martavius Bryant is working out for the Titans and the Cowboys. 31-year-old wide receiver.
The Cowboys already signed him.
Did they actually?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Last played in the NFL in 2018, and then was playing in the XFL for the Las Vegas Vipers in this most recent season, 2023. I don't know how to feel about that. It's just strange to hear Martavius Bryant's name back on the NFL landscape. Carson Wentz signed with the Rams. He's back.
Yeah, he's back.
He's back. And then college basketball related. Last night was the first night, and normally that's the night that we get like those insane spreads as far as the top teams playing unranked teams, just generally bad teams. But last night, Michigan State, number 4 in the country, lost to JMU, who was plus 1,250 money line.
Yeah, JMU is probably going to make my dudes of the week. Their football team is amazing, and their basketball team went out and got a good win. I mean, JMU's a cool school, good for them. I think that they're like 75% women and like the rest males. So it's a great school.
Fire campus. Yeah, it's really nice. Their football team's sick. I've bet on them a bunch this year.
And cool colors.
Awesome colors.
Yeah.
Awesome colors. Their quarterback was a transfer from from a high D1 school. I want to say it was maybe like a Georgia or like an Old Miss. I'm pretty sure he was at an SEC school and then transferred down to JMU, and they've been balling.
Well, JMU's ranked, so like, what does that mean? What do you mean transferred down? They're in the top 25.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, well, I think he transferred prior to them being up here in like the high D1 level, because weren't they in the like D1 AA before?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think he was down there before that. So it's cool to see them going out balling.
Yeah, they're a good team.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't watched any college basketball, but I'm sure I will at some point. Something that I texted you about earlier today is we're halfway through the season. I wanted to do one take that I was wrong about / you were wrong about, and a take that you were right about. So do you want to kick it off, or do you want me to kick it off?
I'll go with mine. I actually found a couple that I thought that are looking good for us, even though you only asked for one, if that's all right.
Yeah, I don't care. You can do whatever you want.
All right. So we're looking good on the Jags coming into this season. We were really high on them, and they didn't start out how we wanted, but they're starting to form into shape and have looked really good recently. So I would say that's a pretty good take that we've had. A lot of ball left, obviously, but they look good right now. Another take that we had was the order of that I had. This one was that I had by myself. The current ranking or the current standings of the AFC East. Dolphins, Bills, Jets, Pats is what we're sitting at right now, and it looks like it's probably going to sit like that for the rest of the year. I had that at the very beginning of the season, and so far that's looking good. A bad take that we had was the Packers. We both really liked them coming into the season, and we were extremely wrong.
Yeah, that was rough.
I
don't even think, with all due respect, not to cut you off, I mean, there is a real chance that they make the playoffs. I mean, the NFC isn't like ridiculously stacked in any way, shape, or form. And if you look at the Packers' schedule for the remaining of the year, they do have some rough games, but they're definitely in the conversation to still be a playoff team. They're not winning the division as we thought, but I mean, yeah, okay, whatever. If they don't win the division, it is what it is. If they make the playoffs, I feel like that's not an awful take by us.
No, but right now it's not looking great. I just don't feel great about Jordan Love. And he hasn't really impressed me at all this year. And then the other bad take was probably me taking Zay Flowers as offensive rookie of the year. Right now, it's pretty much a lock for CJ Shroud. He's like minus 500. So,
I mean, I don't think that's like that crazy.
I don't think it's a bad take, but that's where we're at so far.
Okay. The take that I was completely wrong about is the Texans. Their future is completely confirmed. I thought that it was an egregious move to trade up and get rid of your first to get Will Anderson and CJ Shroud. Will Anderson's a very great defensive player, and CJ Shroud is an MVP candidate. So, and that's kind of the easy low-hanging fruit to kind of talk about while talking about this entire situation. The real thing to talk about the Texans is they absolutely hit a home run hire with DeMeco Ryans. I mean, DeMeco Ryans does so much with this roster, who I think everybody kind of agrees, like they have some good young players, but it's not a great roster. So he gets the most out of his guys. And you even look at a team like the 49ers this year defensively. He was the defensive coordinator there last year. For people who don't know, they're really struggling defensively. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. People can throw the football on them. They're not really getting to the passer the way that they did in years past. So I think probably it's like a 1A, 1B type of situation where 1A, you get you get the coach of the future and you absolutely nailed that hire. And then 1B, you have a MVP candidate in CJ Shroud, who I didn't think was that going to be that good coming in. I mean, he has a 14-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, and he definitely passes the eye test. And he just came off of probably the biggest game of the season from a quarterback. I'm not 100% sure. It feels that way. So yeah, I was completely wrong about the Texans and CJ Shroud, and I absolutely love D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, CJ Stroud actually just set the single season or the single game rookie record with 470 yards. And then he had 5 passing touchdowns. That passes our buddy Andrew Luck. But yeah, I like the hire a lot too. I think once he has a chance to kind of get some more guys in there on that defensive side of the ball, they'll really be rolling. I mean, giving up 37 points to the Buccaneers, who are a bottom 5 offense, isn't great. But I mean, CJ Stroud stepped up to the plate and answered the call and pulled out a W for him.
I get what you're saying from like a points and yards perspective. It doesn't look great, but they make splash plays to impact the game. Like you have a really good safety in Petrie. You have a good edge rusher in Will Anderson. I think Stingley Jr. has been playing well this year. It's not like if you looked at this roster defensively and asked what you thought how they would be in their record, like I think that you'd probably be pretty low with the surrounding cast that he has.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. I mean, they're winning football games still, but I would imagine he would probably just want a little bit more consistency and not have to rely on that big play from a defensive standpoint. But then again, that's what every coach hopes for. I still do think that they'll end up being a lot better once they get a couple more guys on that side of the ball. But they're good right now. They're doing what they need to win football games, and they're exciting. They're exciting to watch. CJ Stroud's fun to watch.
Hey, and another thing, Tank Dell was a 4th round wide receiver. We talked about that literally in the last episode. There's so much value with wide receiver across the draft. Tank Dell is a small guy, and I think he's really good. I think he's going to be a difference maker for them for the foreseeable future. Next thing,
that was a guy at the beginning of the year that we both liked. So that's a good take by us.
Oh, I was on bye week hard in fantasy this week. I had Christian McCaffrey on a bye. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown on a bye. I had Calvin Ridley on a bye, and I thought it was all over. I did an absolute banger trade and got Keenan Allen and Saquon in the building and started Tank Dell and absolutely knocked Trevor out of contention. So it feels good to cut people's heads off, but yeah, I'm with you. It feels good to have Tank Dell on my fantasy team.
Yeah, these receiving stats, and then I'll let you carry on. From that last game, they had 3 guys with over 100 yards. I mean, Noah Brown had 6 for 153 and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz had 10 for 130 and a touchdown. And then Tank Dell had 6 for 114 and 2 touchdowns. I mean,
and they missed him. They missed him on like a 90-yard tutty.
Yeah.
So he could have. Tank was close to having a really
200-yard game,
a really massive day. But takes I was right about. I was going to say the Jets, but we already danced on their grave to start the podcast, so I'm going to let them breathe. I said the Bills were going to miss the playoffs. I could rescind that statement right now and be like, they're playing well. They have a good record. I'm doubling down on it. Josh Allen is just flat a liability at the quarterback position. I don't think that there's really much argument there. He just really needs to start thinking about changing his play style, because if this is the last 2 years where an injury seems to really be affecting his overall play. Last year it was his UCL on the elbow. This year it's a shoulder. So just thinking about probably changing how you're playing to kind of, you don't need to play like every single down is 4th down. You need to think long term, especially when you're a team who your main goal is to win the Super Bowl, which they never really get close to doing. So I don't know why that's their that's kind of their goal, but it is what it is. I think it's a mid roster, too many key injuries. They actually have less of a run game than they did last year. I thought the run game was going to look decent kind of this year. And after like week 3, they just threw it out the window, and they just like don't care about it apparently. So right now they're the 9th seed in the AFC, and their year does not get any easier. So I'm going to double down on the Bills not making the playoffs.
Yeah, right now I think their odds to make the playoffs are -115, and their odds to miss it are 115. So they're obviously right on the edge. Like you said before, they have 0 run game, and they're just trying to supplement it with short, quick passes, and that really hasn't worked. The game Sunday night was just not a great matchup for them. They like to run zone on defense. Their defense is hurt, beat up, and Joe Burrow just picks apart zones with those 2 elite receivers, and it just wasn't a good matchup for them. That game looked close on the scoreboard, but realistically, it was all Bengals.
And just Gabe Davis just not having a reception.
He's just not good enough. It's Stephon Diggs, and even then, like that first half, they didn't get Stephon Diggs the ball enough. That guy should have 15, 20 targets a game with how bad the rest of that receiving core is.
I just don't like this team. I just don't think they're very good. I've did some slight thinking about it. It kind of feels like they're a little bit of a crossroads, and probably the first decision that they need to make / need to do is they need to trade Stephon Diggs. I mean, he's just getting older at this point. I don't know how much longer he has on his contract, but if you're able to get value for him and start kind of building and taking his contract off the books and kind of building out a little bit more of a complete roster around Josh Allen, example, what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes, that's probably the move for them. But until they do something like that, Von Miller, Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen, the big 3, it's not getting it done for me this year. I'm fading them. I think they miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the way that this team is currently constructed, their ceiling is first round playoff game. That's the ceiling. Obviously, I don't know if that's going to happen, but they're just not good enough to, I don't think, make it out of even that first round. They're too beat up. They just don't have that much talent. And I hate going against Josh Allen, but it's getting to that point where we've started to accumulate enough games and enough data on him where I'm going to have to start going against Josh Allen and this Bills team.
Yeah, like I said, Josh Allen is a flat liability. I mean, he's going to make a few plays a game where you're going to sit there and be like, well, why did you just do that? Like, that was completely unnecessary. Why'd you take that hit? Like, why did you throw that pick? It just seems to be like every week he like does something like that. And Shield said this on their podcast, and he was like, you can't really see it from the game view, but when you watch the all 22 tape, he might have wide receivers literally wide open, and he just runs out of structure and doesn't get the ball to them, and it costs them big on the offensive side of the football. I need to see Josh Allen change his play style a little bit until I start believing in this Bills team. I didn't like them last year, and I definitely don't like them this year. So yeah, I'm gonna double down on my I was right take. Which could still be wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of ball left. But it's the way that it's trending, it doesn't look great. They just have too many injuries, and they're just not playing well. And I don't know if it's going to be easy for Josh Allen to change his play style in the middle of a season.
No, definitely not. So I wrote down like a little brief sentence for each game this past week, and you can either build off of it or we can just skip it. You can just tell me. But I'm going to start. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Josh Dobbs is a dog.
Is he a top 15 quarterback in the NFL right now?
I think that he's definitely proven that he's going to be an absolute lock of a lifetime backup. Like he's just, it seems like everybody loves that dude. And whenever he does get into the game, he just plays out of his mind.
It's insane that he went in there and pulled that off. I feel like it has been getting talked about a lot, but I think it needs to be talked about even more just because of how insane and difficult it is to, one, already play quarterback in the NFL, and then two, get traded and lead a team to victory without knowing anything. He didn't even know play calls. They were building plays in the huddle, and he pulled it off.
Impressive win. One of the most impressive wins of the year, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, it was
without Justin Jefferson, without KJ Osborne.
Yep.
Crazy win. Good for them. Good for Dobbs. Will Levis might not be terrible.
I agree with you. Small sample size. The guy stands in the pocket and can deliver a good football. Wouldn't hate to see him use his athletic ability and get out of the pocket maybe a little bit more, but there's a very fine line between standing in too long and not standing in long enough.
In my opinion, he holds onto the football a little bit too long, but he does look good. The next one, Dolphins defense is back.
Dolphins defense is back. The Dolphins are frauds. Oh my God. I do have a stat here for the Dolphins. Their 3 losses are Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles. Their wins are New England twice, Panthers, Giants, Broncos, Chargers. I need them to beat a good team before we seriously have a conversation about them being a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I think that take is extremely lazy.
I think that it is too, but that's just a matter of fact. They need to beat somebody that's a decent football team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're frauds. I think that they're extremely good. They're getting healthy at the right time. They got pretty much all their guys back. Their defense is pretty much fully healthy now, which is good. And their defense played absolutely lights out in the second half against the Chiefs. They needed to kind of warm up to it, but after that happened, they absolutely dominated that game.
I got nothing else. I agree with you on them dominating the second half.
Fuck Atlanta.
Yes. I had them in a parlay, and I've been asking week in and week out why Taylor Heineke hasn't started.
Now you know.
Now I know. I still don't think Desmond Ridder is better than him, but we saw enough. That's all I got.
K1 is back.
K1 is back. I'm excited to see what he can do out there. Have him in fantasy. Hopefully he can be my savior. I expect a little rust, but I think that he will brush that rust off quickly. Do you think Call of Duty coming out plays any effect on his game this weekend?
No, Kyler is back. Per sources inside of the Arizona Cardinals building.
All right. Emmitt Smith.
Green Bay is so mid, which is hilarious because I just stuck up for him.
You threw your cheese head on
a
little bit ago, and now you're slowly taking it off and like fading into the distance like that Bart Simpson meme. Yeah, they're mid. They're very mid. I just think it's worth taking every single under whenever they play a game. I did that this weekend and it paid off.
Patriots are tanking. They just are. They
suck. They didn't start. What was it? Jack Jones at corner.
Yeah.
And then he went and liked a tweet about how he should have just went to jail instead of playing for the Patriots.
Facts. Though.
Is that better? Is that better than playing for the Pats, going to prison?
Yes.
Okay.
New Orleans Saints survived teabag.
Survive teabag. I honestly don't even remember this football game.
24 to
Tyson
17.
24-17. Yeah. I had them with
Tyson
Atlanta.
Badgett. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. I had the Saints with Atlanta, and I couldn't have picked two more stressful games for the 1 o'clock slate than I did. And I don't know. The Saints are so frustrating. The Bears are frustrating. All the quarterbacks in the NFL suck. Next game.
The Ravens are the best team in the NFL.
I think it's them side by side with the Eagles. They run the football crazy. They ran the football crazy. Actually, I need to ask you, because you're the Seahawks connoisseur. What do you think about the Seahawks after that game?
I don't think anything, honestly. I mean, did everybody freak out when the Lions got shit pumped by the Ravens? Like, the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. Like, there's really not much more to say. I mean, you go out. The hard thing to do when you're going against teams like that is handling business. The next tier of that is shit pumping them. So you go out and you shit pump the Lions. Everybody was shook about that. They were probably the best bet underdog. By the time that the game was over with the Seahawks, the line closed around like 6.5. There was a lot of respect for the Ravens in this game. And I think that something like the score looks really bad, but the Seahawks aren't a team that are going to like dink and dunk down the field to try to get everything back at one shot. They were just ripping the ball, and they made things extremely tough for Geno to read. There was nothing open. Like, if you rewatch that game, there was literally nothing. They had to hit Jackson Smith and Jigba on I think he had like 8 catches this weekend, which is his season high. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything differently of the Seahawks. The Seahawks started getting shit pumped, and they were like, okay, Kenny Walker, we're not going to run you today. Take a break on the bench because we're getting our asses kicked, and we're going to just throw the football. And if we make some plays, good for them. One thing that does piss me off, and I've said this for a very long time, DK Metcalf is not a good wide receiver at all, because he catches a ball across the middle and he's running down the field. He is by far the fastest, biggest, strongest person on the field. He had an extra 10 yards, and instead of fighting for those yards, he just steps out of bounds. I don't see how DK Metcalf, in my opinion, is worth any of the hype that everybody kind of surrounds him with. I think that's probably one of the Seahawks' biggest detriments on the offensive side of the football, is having somebody like him and him making zero difference.
I would say that, I mean, I agree with you. I think he's drastically underperformed this year.
And last year.
I think that like the DK Metcalf hype has honestly kind of died down. I haven't had DK Metcalf in like my top like 15 receivers this year. I don't think at any point, if I'm just going through it, but
that's you.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Other people do.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just the name. Like the name DK Metcalf sounds good, but yeah, he's not had great games. He's probably had like one really good game this year, and it was against Carolina. And I mean, he's got 2 touchdowns on the year. That's really not what you see from the elite level wide receivers.
And he's the biggest person on the field, and he plays zero threat in the red zone in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, but what I can say about the Seahawks is they are clearly a step below from like the alpha team. So like, I think there's 2 alpha teams in the league. I think it's the Eagles and I think it's the Ravens. Then I think like underneath that, it's like the 49ers, Cowboys, and the Seahawks. So I think that they're in a position to play in the NFC Championship game, but I think a lot would have to go right for them to get there and go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they're a good team, and I do think they're right on that second level. I just wanted to see if like what you thought.
No, I'm not freaking out about them because I mean the Ravens. They're the best team in the league. Their defense is absolutely disgusting.
They're
They
balling.
they can get it done in many different ways. They can get it done on the defensive side of the football. They can get it done with the run. Lamar Jackson is one of the best passers in the entire league, and there's really not much else to say about that. They can get it done in all three aspects of the game. They have some dangerous pieces on both sides of the football, and I like them this year a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to the beginning of the year. We were both big on the Ravens, and it's looking like we were right. They've got it together on offense. They ran the ball at an elite level this weekend and have been running it very well. We're seeing Lamar Jackson go out there and ball week in, week out, and they look nasty. They're probably, I mean, like you said, I think it's Eagles and Ravens, but if I'm not going to get mad at you for saying that the Ravens are the best team in the league right now.
Yeah, I just think the defensive wise for the Ravens, they're just so much on another, like they're just in a different class than the Eagles right now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the difference maker in my decision for that, but we can keep going. The next thing I have here is the CJ Shroud MVP game. Kind of already talked about it.
Yeah, baller, dog, him, broke the Ohio State, is breaking the Ohio State quarterback stigma.
Definitely. The Panthers roster is one of the worst in the league.
Hands down. And they're not in a great position to make it any better moving forward.
Raiders need to chill.
I love them having Antonio Pierce as their interim. He seems like a dog. He seems like a guy that those guys like playing for. I saw your tweet about them smoking cigars after a win. I'm a big vibes guy. I'm all about a good vibe here, but I think I agree with you with them just relaxing. I get it. You're happy you won. The Giants are so bad.
I just don't get how
they
you
lost
can...
their quarterback early in that game, second quarter.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I just don't get how you can listen. If you want to go and have a good vibe and go hang out in Max Crosby's $160 million mansion out in Henderson, Nevada, and relax and smoke some cigars after a big game with the boys, go ahead and feel free. But to like outwardly celebrate after beating fucking Danny DeVito at quarterback and the Giants, who have been an absolute dumpster fire the entire year, I thought was absolutely pathetic and low-key embarrassing.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of it either. Obviously, go ahead, celebrate. Your interim coach got their first win, but probably don't do it that way. Like I'm fully on board with going out to Max Crosby's house and doing it there. Also, he almost said the N-word.
Yeah,
in that video.
Yeah, that video was so funny. Yeah, bro, that video it was just so funny. Like, I love when a video like that goes off and like everybody just is quote tweeting it, but it was all funny ass shit.
Did nobody in the Raiders social media team think, hey, he almost said the N-word, and
he did not almost say the N-word.
Yes, he did, dude. He almost said it. He was very close. But also, even if there was any, like even the slightest bit, like 1%, just have him do the video again. It's not like you have to post it right away.
I'm with you on that. It was funny, but
it's not a one take. It's not a one take and post. Like, you can do that as many times as you want and make sure it's right.
Next one, Bengals are back.
Bengals are back. Joe Burrow looked good. I am scared of the Bengals if I'm an AFC team.
Jets suck. But we already talked about
Jets suck. Period.
So those are all the games. The next thing that I wanted to do, this is completely random, but they did it on the Yak yesterday. they gave out like their top 3 athletes, and I was just wondering who yours were. So did you do that or no?
No, I got it. So like my favorite athlete is LeBron, but I'm not putting him on this list because what fun is that?
That's a lazy answer.
Exactly. So I've got right here, I've got AJ Brown, wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagles. That's my guy. Talked about him a lot this year. Another guy I have on here is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Okay.
Guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Guy's just a bucket. Has been getting better every single year. The drip is insane. His Instagram captions are insane. That's my guy. And then third, I have a tie between Paolo Banchero and Ant Edwards.
Paolo Banchero, that's funny.
I love Paolo. This thing that happens to me is I hate these guys in college. It's usually Ohio State guys and Duke guys, but when they get to the pros, I always end up liking them. Paolo being one of them. I'm not really a closet Magic fan, but I like the Magic, and Paolo is sick. So he's on my list. And then Ant Edwards is just a dog. I'm just waiting for him to be like a top 5 player here in the upcoming years. I feel like he's just also getting better every single year. He's in that Shea category as far as just bucket getter. And he led the Timberwolves to a win last night against the undefeated Celtics. So Ant's my guy.
Perfect. Love that list. My list starts with number 1, Tyreek Hill. Randy Moss is probably my favorite receiver ever. I think that I think Tyreek Hill is a close second, honestly. I love that guy. He's funny as shit. I actually bought a Chiefs Tyreek Hill jersey this week. I'm going to put it on and go into my yard and throw a football up and run and catch it to myself once it comes in. The next one.
Did you see what he wants to do when he retires from football?
Yeah, he wants to be a porn star.
Yeah. Do you have similar aspirations?
Of course. I mean, who doesn't? But he he is such a relatable dude. He's he'll literally go out and have 3 touchdowns, and then you'll click on Twitch and he'll be playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
He just
he's sick.
He's just a funny guy. I love when he's oh no, I don't watch film. I just play Madden to figure out who's good and who's not.
I knew you were gonna put him on your list.
Yeah, he's just one of my favorite players. He's absolutely electric. He's fun to watch, and yeah, he's my guy. The next one on my list is Jude Bellingham from Real Madrid.
He is insane. I mean, that guy scores a goal pretty much every single game. I was very close to putting Bukayo Saka on my list from the Arsenal. He's probably 5 right now for me. I really like watching him, but yeah, Jude Bellingham is just crazy.
I bought his rookie card, his Dortmund rookie card 2 years ago, and that was my soccer fandom that I decided to go with. So yeah, I love Jude Bellingham. And I also have a tie for my third one because I want to say both of them. I'm either going to go Ellie De La Cruz or I'm going to go Wemby, because I just decided that I'm going to be a Wemby fan for the next 20 years, because why not?
Yeah.
And Ellie De La Cruz just made me like baseball. So I hope that both of them have great careers. So that's probably my top 3/4.
Yeah, I think that's a great list. Seeing some of the stuff with Wemby on Twitter is just insane. KD's 6'11", 7 feet tall, and there was that picture of them standing next to each other at the free throw line, or right at the paint, and Wemby is just so so tall, and he's just a freak, and he's fun to watch, and hopefully he has a great career. And then same thing with Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, that guy's 6'7" and throws the ball 100 miles per hour from shortstop.
And he threw a parade for himself in the DR a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's so badass. I love
He
that.
literally was just sitting on top of a roof of a car, just like driving through the DR. Like that guy, I mean, what a cool thing to do. An interesting thing about Wemby, which like I don't know if you ever like really dove into him or anything like that. Like he's been literally prepping to be an NBA superstar his entire life. Like from like learning American culture to learning about like art and fashion and like all of this stuff. He's actually a really interesting guy. I've went like on a deep dive on YouTube. He's just cool. Like I like Wemby a lot. He actually seems like a really down to earth dude. And yeah, I'm excited. That's the only person I watch in the NBA. So yeah, boom.
Yeah, they did a deep dive, kind of how you mentioned, of him on draft night, and they kind of went in depth as far as like his training and the whole backstory as far as basically prepping to become an NBA superstar since what, like middle school, high school.
So he's like 13.
Yeah, so it was written for him. He's fun to watch. There's no NBA on tonight, but yeah, he's must watch TV. If anybody out there, if you haven't watched him play, go watch him play. He's sick.
Okay, let's hop into this week's elimination pool. We didn't do it last week because we were super fired up. So whatever, we didn't do it. My two games this week is I'm gonna pick the Cardinals over the Falcons. I'm all in on the K1 comeback season. I think he's gonna absolutely snap this week. I think he's gonna dice up Falcons defense. I want to see the Cardinals win this game. And the Ravens, I'm gonna take the Ravens. I think they take control of the East. They beat the Browns.
Yep, I like that. I'm gonna ride the Josh Dobbs wave and take the Vikings versus the Saints.
Okay.
If he can go in there and win a game with no practice, imagine what a week of practice will do for him. And then the other team I'm gonna take is I'm going to take the Titans versus the Buccaneers.
Nice. Two good games.
What was it? I have the list of Sunday scaries, and the two teams that I would say probably had the scariest Sunday were the Buccaneers and the Falcons, both losing on like last second drives. I mean, it doesn't get any scarier than that.
Fair.
To a rookie and then to a guy that had half a week's practice for a team. So tough scene for those guys.
My Sunday scary is Daniel Jones's entire career.
Yeah, that leg. So the Giants are 100% taking a quarterback.
I don't know. I have no clue what you do. They're in a terrible spot.
Terrible spot.
Like an all-time bad spot.
They're gonna lose Saquon. Was Darren Waller on a 1-year deal?
Or
was he a couple of years? Either way,
even if
really
he
matter.
is on a 1-year deal, he misses 5 to 10 games every season for the last 4 years. He's done in my head.
Yeah. They're gonna probably lose Saquon. They already got rid of Darius Leonard. Is that right? D-tackle.
Yeah, Big Cat Williams.
Yeah. Darius. Yeah, wait. Darius
Leonard Williams.
I forget his name. Whatever his fucking name is. Leonard Williams.
Williams.
He's gone. There's a couple other guys that are upcoming free agents that are probably going to end up walking away.
Yeah,
I don't understand why you would stay. Let me see here. I'm pulling up this list. God, they have a lot.
The next
Saquon, Isaiah Simmons, Paris Campbell, Xavier McKinney.
They all suck.
Sterling Shepard. They all suck. But like they're not going to get. Like I don't even know who you signed from there. Like why the Giants might be the worst team in the NFL next year.
Yeah, they're bad. They're really bad. So I don't know. I have one more. I'm not trying to make a joke of injuries, but Cam Akers' Achilles. That guy can't
Yeah,
catch a
that
break.
sucks.
He literally
Yeah,
can't
that
catch a break.
sucks.
So
Yeah, he's probably got to hang it up, right?
I mean, he's not very good as it is, and from what I heard, he couldn't put any weight on it, so it doesn't sound
I
too
heard
good to
that
me.
too. Yeah.
So I think he's probably done. It sucks. He was good at Florida State, but he hasn't really done anything in the NFL. So yeah, I think he's probably done unless if he makes some sort of comeback. He kind of reminds me of like James Robinson a little bit. Once he got hurt, it's kind of been over for him. He just bounces around on practice squads.
Yeah. What about like Todd Gurley? Like Todd Gurley just exited the league just so quietly, and I feel like nobody. I feel like it just completely went untalked about.
Well, I mean, it's a very known thing throughout the entire NFL that Todd Gurley has one of the worst medicals like
Oh yeah,
ever.
I know
So
that. I know that.
that's really not like yeah, he's just done. Like I think Todd Gurley's like 28 years old.
Oh no, I'm not expecting him to come back or anything. I'm just like thinking back to how good he was for those few years, and then there was like a year.
He was the best.
Yeah, and then there was like a
Not
year and
good,
a
he was
half,
the best.
and then there was a year and a half where he just couldn't stay healthy, and then he was just gone.
Then he went to the Falcons.
Oh yeah, and they had all those first round picks on like offense and defense, and they were still bad.
Yeah, I think
Crazy.
Todd Gurley won an Offensive Player of the Year, signed a massive contract for running back. He's the reason why running backs don't get paid. If you guys want to get mad at anybody over that, go DM Todd Gurley and give him hell. So that's the reason why running backs don't get paid, because it's a hard position. Todd Gurley was literally at the peak of his powers, and he's 28 and out of the league.
It's unfortunate, but he made his money, so
yeah, I love Todd Gurley.
He gets to be 28 and a multimillionaire. I mean, I don't know if you can really draw it up any better than that.
You literally can't. Before we go over the lines this week, I have some stats. This data is per Bet Labs.
I saw these, I think, actually.
Teams getting 50% of the bets this year are 72, 54, and 5, 57% against the spread. Unders, 83 and 52, hitting at a 62% rate. Unders at night, 22 and 7, hitting at a 76% rate. Best teams against the spread this season are the Jags and the Lions, 6 and 2. Worst teams against the spread are Pats and the Falcons at 2 and 7. Best overs teams, Colts and the Bears at 6 and 3. The best unders teams, just the Giants at 8 and 1. Just some interesting stats before going into this weekend. I've been hitting unders at a crazy rate. I don't fall for it. I mean, it's easy to sit there. They want you to take these parlays with the player props and the touchdown scores. It is absolutely pointless at this point in the season to bet a touchdown score when maybe 3 get scored the entire game. So I think that those are complete stayaways from an odds perspective and the possibility of it happening. And just keep betting those unders until something severely changes.
Yeah, I think there's maybe like 2 guys that you're going to consistently get touchdowns from, but at that point, like the line's not even worth taking it. Like Christian McCaffrey is pretty much a guaranteed touchdown every time he plays, and then Austin Eckler scores a lot when he plays. But other than that, I mean, there's really not many guys that I would be taking to score a touchdown week in and week out. I do have one other under stat for you. Primetime unders are 22 and 7 thus far this season.
Those were the unders at night that I gave.
Okay. Yes. Well, wait, what about like is a primetime game considered like those, any game that's like overseas?
No, that's not a primetime game.
Okay. Well, then, I mean, either way, then yeah, 22 and 7. This
76%.
weekend I was on unders all weekend. I had the Chiefs Dolphins under, like we talked about last week.
That was a mortal lock.
Yeah, I parlayed that with the under in what else was it? Let me pull it up here. Oh, Rams Packers under 46. I bought a couple points for both games, took both unders, both hit.
Nice.
And then I had a couple points on the under last night, but that same game parlay didn't end up hitting. But unders are back, to say the least.
No doubt.
I do want to comment on the Bears being like one of the best teams against, or like for the over. And I think it's just because they end up putting the line so low, and then the Bears offense like kind of goes somewhat competent, and the lines just start out super low. I would have to go back and look at what they start at, but
Like we're looking at one right now, 39. I like this over.
who they got? Panthers. Yeah, like I think I'd be more scared about the Panthers not scoring in this game than the Bears.
Yeah, but I think this game might be a good player prop game. I think
Justin Fields is back too.
Yeah, he's back. I like the over in this game. I mean, we can start getting into week 10. First game on the board is Bears Panthers. I mean, there's not many bright spots for the Panthers, and they're kind of in win now mode, so I don't really know what they're trying to do. But yeah, Justin Fields is back. If you're crazy, take Panthers plus 3.5. But like I said, I like the over in this game. I feel like both teams might be able to move the ball.
Yeah,
no Brian Burns for the Panthers either. He's out this week with a concussion.
Ooh, yeah, I like the over in this game too. I think anytime you get your starting quarterback back, you look to kind of have a big game offensively, and I think the Bears have kind of been just waiting to get Justin Fields back, so I like that as well.
And the Bears already put up 40 once this season on a Thursday night against the Commanders.
Yeah.
Next game, this game is in Germany, the Indianapolis Colts versus the Patriots. I really think that the Colts might be a mortal lock in this situation.
I think that I saw a tweet today that there was a rumor going around about how if the Patriots come back with a loss that Belichick's out of there. I don't know how serious of a rumor that is. I think this is an absolute must win for the Patriots. I don't think even if they lose that Belichick is out, but I mean, we both actually sat here. We both agreed that the Patriots are tanking. I still think they have to win, but I will not bet on them.
Yeah, I'm not going to bet on. I'm sure I'm going to bet on this game, but maybe the under 43.5, even though the Colts are the best overs team. Next game, this is probably one of my favorite games on the slate for the weekend, is the 49ers at Jacksonville Jaguars. In my personal opinion, the Jaguars being 3-point dogs at home to the 49ers at this point in the year is absolutely disrespectful and just goes to show you how people feel about the Niners publicly. This is an absolute mortal lock for me. Jags plus 3 at home. Doug Peterson's absolutely electric after a bye. He's 16-3. We just said it. Jags are the best team against the spread this season at 6-2. Jags plus 3 is a major play for me this weekend.
Yeah, I love the Jags too. I love the Jags too here. The Niners losing 4 in a row. Wouldn't that be interesting?
And I think that's kind of the mentality that like everybody's going to go into this game with, like, oh
yeah, the Niners coming off a bye.
The Niners coming off a bye. Yeah, not going to lose 4 in a row. But bro, they
just got Chase Young.
At the absolute bare minimum, very bare minimum, this game should be a pick'em. And if you told me that the Niners were favorited in that pick'em, I'd say okay. But Jacksonville is playing serious football. Their defense is really good. They create takeaways. Their offense is finally finding their footing. They just had a bye week. I expect their offense to look even better this week. The Niners have not been able to stop a lot of people, and I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to do stuff against this defense.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love the Jags in this one.
All right. New Orleans Saints Vikings. You seem to like the Vikings this week. I think this is an absolute easy play in my head. The New Orleans Saints are going to win this football game.
I also like the over in this game.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm on the Vikings.
Next game is the Tennessee Titans and the Buccaneers. Literally kind of a pick 'em. No value really on either side. You said you like the Titans in this spot. I don't really have too much of an opinion.
I kind of like 38.5. Yeah, I'm obviously taking the Titans for the sake of the elimination pool, but yeah, this will be interesting just to sort of see how Will Levis holds up again. I'm hoping that this isn't the game where he has his struggles, his like actual NFL struggles. I'm hoping he can just hold that off for one more week, but we'll see. Yeah, Titans is where I'm going with this one.
Next game, one of my favorite games on the board. I think 6 points is a lot, but hear me out on the Ravens. It's at Baltimore. The Ravens are the kings of the 1 o'clock slate. I don't know how they're always in the 1 o'clock slate, but it seems like they are. I think that what this game is going to come down to is obviously two great defenses are clashing against each other, and I think Lamar might struggle a little bit in this spot, but I'm just going to go based off of firepower on the offensive side of the football and firepower on the defensive side of the football. I don't think Deshaun Watson's very good. No Chick Nub. I'm pretty sure they just lost Cedric Willis, their starting left tackle, today to a knee injury. I just don't think on the offensive side of the football that they're going to be able to do too much. They're going to have to rely heavily on their defense, and I think their defense is going to get kind of pounded by this run and a physical game, and them being out on the field a lot. I like the Ravens to cover 6 points.
Yeah, that Ravens run game looked so serious last week. I don't know how good the Seahawks run defense is, but it's obviously it's not going to be the Browns defense. I think if you get to a point where the Ravens just start chipping away, 4 yards here, 4 yards here, 4 yards here, 3, 4, 5, that slowly starts to weigh on a defense, especially if that Browns offense cannot get things rolling against a very good Ravens defense. I think I like this under a lot, even though it is really low. I think this could just be a defensive stalemate. I think we end up seeing this game being like 17-10 Ravens.
And an angle that not a lot of people are talking about, Odell Beckham revenge game.
You're right. Very true. Do you think his dad puts the tape up on social media just to remind everybody how much he got screwed as a Cleveland Brown?
Absolutely.
I think he does too. I would start sending that film out right now. I would also get the film of Deshaun Watson at the massage parlors. If I were him, start shooting that everywhere.
Man,
no pun intended there.
Deshaun Watson is just like so disappointing. Like
he just seems so uninterested in playing.
I mean, he got his money and he's done. I mean, it is what it is, and he's just. I don't know. I don't have
grit, dude.
I don't have much to say about him. I'm disappointed in Shadon Watson. He's just.
It sucks because I loved him and I loved watching him play back when he was on the Texans. He was so electric. And then he went out and did his little dance, and now he just doesn't care. He sucks. It's a shame.
Next game, Houston Texans, Cincinnati Bengals. Man, I don't really know how I feel about this game. I do think the Bengals win. If the Texans can keep it close, do they win this game and upset the Bengals? I think that'd be a statement, but with the Bengals, the way they've been playing, they should win this football game.
Yeah, so my friend Mark, avid Bengals lover, was actually kind of worried about this game coming into the week. I mean, we've seen what CJ Stroud's done. I think they do keep it close, but I don't think they win this game. If they did, I mean, I would be shocked, and as I think most of us would be. But the Bengals are just playing really good football right now, and I mean the Texans are too. But I don't know. The aspirations for this team, for each of these teams, is a little different. Bengals got Super Bowl on their mind, and I would say this is just a game. This is a take care game where you just got to go in there and take care of business if you're the Bengals.
Yeah, I think you're dead right, and I don't know if, man, I don't know.
Also, is Jamar Chase playing?
I don't think so.
Big T. Higgins game.
Big T. Higgins game and
Pimp.
Big T. Higgins game, and this is also an audition for T. Higgins to be a Houston Texan after this year.
I would love that.
Okay.
I know Cincinnati wouldn't, but that would be sick if T. Higgins went to the Texans and was getting the rock from CJ Stroud for a handful of years. That's a great call, actually. I love that call.
What call?
T. Higgins to the Texans once the season's over. I think that's awesome. I love that take.
Yeah, I think that that's what happens. I don't see how they're going to be able to continue to keep that nucleus that they have, just because Jamar Chase is going to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you can't max out T. Higgins the year before. So unfortunately, I think you do see T walk, but yeah. And if he does walk, the Texans have the cap space to pay him. CJ Stroud's playing absolutely out of his mind. So T. Higgins to the Texans.
Yeah, that's a perfect situation for the Texans. They have their quarterback on a rookie deal, obviously. Now, well, this offseason is the chance for them to really start to build around him and get some weapons. And I love T. Higgins to the Texans, so I'm going to start pushing that agenda.
Next game, Packers Steelers. This game is an absolute rat line, and we've talked about it all season. The book is absolutely begging you to take the Steelers -3 at home. So I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers +3 on the road in Pittsburgh.
I'm not betting this game from a team standpoint. I think the public is going to slam Steelers -3. I don't think the line realistically should be any higher than -3, but I think it will get to that point just because we've seen how bad the Packers have been.
Something to keep your eye on is as this week progresses and more money gets thrown on this game if this doesn't move to like 3.5, 4, but stays at 3, it's the most obvious line on the board.
Yeah. I like I said, I'm not taking this game. I think this is if I were, I would probably end up teasing this game. I would tease an under, and I would tease the Packers plus to like a touchdown. I think this is going to be a 1-score game. I don't understand how the Steelers keep winning football games with that bad of an offense. I don't think this lasts the rest of this year. I think we start to see the Steelers start to lose some football games. The defense, I mean, props to them. They keep them in it every single week for the most part. And Kenny Pickett just doesn't look like he's getting any better.
Yeah, I don't think Kenny Pickett's very good, in my opinion. Kenny's a great dude, but me saying that he's not that good isn't fair, because I think that the Steelers do have problems on the offensive line that's not being talked about, and I also think that the Steelers, I think Matt Canada is a bad play caller, so I'm gonna hold off on the Kenny Pickett slander until they link him up with a better offensive coordinator. I think that they have like enough firepower on offense though to be able to kind of like make a difference. But yeah, I think that they lose. I don't think that they lose the. I don't know. We'll see. I like Green Bay +3.
So my thing with the Matt Canada take is I'm spot on with you. I don't think Matt Canada is a good OC, but just from watching these games, it just doesn't feel like Kenny Pickett is like reading the field all that well per the play call. Like there's times where it feels like he's got guys, and I feel like he needs to take more chances trying to get the ball to Pickens. I mean, Pickens is the best player on the field 95% of the time, and they're just not getting him the ball. I don't think it is.
Bro, George Pickens isn't even the best receiver on that team.
Well, Kenny Pickett loves Deontay Johnson, and I think Deontay Johnson's good, but I still think you got to figure out a way to get George Pickens the ball more.
He does, but Deontay Johnson is a way better player than George Pickens is. If I was an opposing team, my game plan every single week playing the Steelers would be, all right, we're going to send our 4th string corner out on the field, and we're going to get George Pickens ejected on the very first drive because he has absolutely zero self-control. So I would just get somebody to literally push his buttons and have him freak out and get kicked out of the game.
That doesn't mean anything in terms of being I'm talking just strictly talent level.
I'm just telling you what I would do if I was strictly talent level. Yes, he is. If you want to talk about that, I was just saying, that's what I was on the other team. No, yeah. He is not the best receiver on that football team. George Pickens does one thing very well. He can catch the ball on the outside of the field and make somewhat contested catches when he needs to. Deontay Johnson is a way better all-around player than George Pickens, and it's not close. He's a better route runner. He has better hands. He is better after the catch. He can create space.
We don't get to see any of those things from Pickens because Deontay Johnson gets 15 targets a game.
Pickens just played half the season with Deontay Johnson on the fucking IR. And what did he do?
It was 4 games.
Dude, 4 games. And if you think that he has the amount of talent that you're claiming that he has, he would have dominated. Like, what are you talking about?
I think Kenny Pickett is not a good quarterback and is just not good at distributing the ball. That was where this whole premises started, is I don't think Kenny Pickett is good.
Well, listen, I think that Kenny Pickett is 7-0 in game-winning drives, and when it matters, he can get things done. And he looked pretty good distributing the ball to me last week, in my opinion.
I just think I don't think he's good. I think they need to move on from him.
Well, they're not going to.
I know, but they should.
Next game, you just that's your big, like, you just think everybody should move on from everybody. But you're not.
What are you? I don't. I actually don't, because I think
you never take account. You never take into account ever coaching. You never.
Yes, I just said Matt Canada is a bad OC.
He's a bad OC, but you can't move on from Kenny Pickett when he's been getting the job done in Pittsburgh with a dog shit OC. You have to give him time. You can't have somebody go out and play for 1.5 seasons and be like, okay, yeah, like this guy's got a winning record all time, but he looks kind of shitty sometimes, so we're going to move on from him. That's just, you don't do that.
I have been the person that has said from the beginning that NFL quarterbacks need a longer leash. And I think there gets to be a certain point where you just don't see enough from a quarterback, and it's just not going to get any better. Kenny Pickett is not a good quarterback. I don't think he's getting any better week in and week out. He's not progressing. He's just staying the same every week.
So they're
not going to win. They're not going to go far with Kenny Pickett at quarterback because their defense has to play at an elite level. Their defense has to play at an elite level to win a game.
27 teams in the NFL don't have a quote-unquote elite quarterback. That doesn't mean you just move on from that. Is that what you
Is Kenny Pickett a top 10 quarterback? Is he going to win you a playoff game? No, he's not.
Yes,
because the defense is going to win them a playoff game. Kenny Pickett is not going to win you a playoff game.
Kenny Pickett is 7-0 in game-winning drives.
That's great. That's regular season. What are you going to do when you get to the playoffs?
Bro, he hasn't even had the opportunity to play in the playoffs yet.
Okay, I still don't think he's going to play at a high enough level to win them a playoff game. It's going to be the defense, which has always been the case. But their defense keeps them in it every single game.
There's literally 6 QBs in the league right now that you can hang your hat on and feel confident about on a week-to-week basis. So that is just flat the reality that these teams are dealt. So you have to take that into account where you're going to be like, okay, our quarterback play might not be AA plus tier. So the rest of our team is really going to have to step up, and we need to put Kenny or whoever in that matter in a position to manage the game and make things easy on him. So
you don't need AA plus tier quarterbacking to win you football games, clearly, but to win playoff games, it's different. You can't have C minus quarterback play in the playoffs and expect to win.
I mean, Blake Bortles won a few playoff games.
Okay, he's an anomaly. There's anomalies everywhere, but in the grand scheme of
Nick Foles won a Super Bowl.
Nick Foles played at a very high level that Super Bowl game.
Nick Foles was a backup quarterback who came
he played at an elite level in the Super Bowl.
And played above expectations, but he clearly wasn't good enough to be able to go out and play for an entire season. You know why he went out and played well? Because he was put in a situation where the team played well.
But we've seen
and
Nick
made
Foles
things
play at
easy
a high
for
level
him,
before.
And
we haven't seen Kenny Pickett play at a high level ever.
Kenny Pickett is 7-0 in game-winning drives. What else do you want?
I want him to start actually throwing the football around and hitting receivers when they're open. I want them to actually have 30 points from an offense.
Well, they're not going to, so stop asking. Like Matt Canada, that is all good, grand, great, and wonderful. Matt, we can go back and do all of the stats about Matt Canada that we've been saying all year. It is not going to happen. He is doing the absolute best with what he has dealt with at this time. And guess what? If George Pickens was that fucking good, maybe he would make a play in the end zone when he has 4 feet to get 2 feet down, but instead he's lollygagging around and only gets 1 foot down. And you think that guy's fucking elite.
That was okay. I'll give you that play. It wasn't great. He should have definitely got 2 feet down, but I still think that Kenny Pickett is the issue.
No, Matt Canada is the issue. Kenny Pickett is 7-0 in game-winning drives.
Great, but do you feel good going into a playoff game with Kenny Pickett as your quarterback? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Do you feel good about 27 other teams in the NFL going into a playoff game with their quarterback? Like, do you? Do you feel good? Do you feel good about having Brock Purdy as your quarterback in a playoff game? Because me personally, I don't. But
I've never felt great about Brock Purdy as my quarterback.
But I think that if the team plays well around him and elevates him, he has a chance to win. Same shit with Kenny Pickett. Same shit with probably more than half of the quarterbacks in the league. There's a few quarterbacks that go out there every single week and absolutely Jalen Hurts needs to play like fucking Michael Jordan in the Super Bowl for them to be able to have a chance. Patrick Mahomes doesn't even have to do that. So there's a few quarterbacks that have to legitimately put the team on their back and be Superman. The rest of them, a lot of them, I'd say majority of the quarterbacks don't have that gene in them to be able to accomplish that. I genuinely think that.
I don't think a lot of the quarterbacks in the NFL have it either. I agree with you. I just wouldn't feel great going into a playoff game with Kenny Pickett as my quarterback.
I'm with you.
That's where I'm ending it at that.
No, we're not ending it at that, because the one thing that needs to be discussed is these guys need to keep their jobs at the end of the day. And you're not going to see a lot of these people be able to do anything because they're going to be like, okay, well, fuck. We took Kenny Pickett at 22 years ago and we need to have this work out, because if it doesn't work out, I'm fired. So you can't just tank year after year and hope that you get a good quarterback, because the actuality of the situation is, even if you have a top 5 pick, you might miss out on a quarterback. They might be a bust. They might suck. They might be Kenny Pickett. Like,
the Steelers haven't tanked though in 37 years.
I just think that if you have Kenny Pickett, you are in an okay spot. You could be in a better spot, but like I said, so could probably 75% of the teams in the league. But we can move on. Unless if you have anything else you want to say. Just say Kenny Pickett is elite.
Oh, fuck
how
no.
many people are 7-0 on game-winning drives?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. He's elite. When it matters, he gets it done. It's not pretty, but he gets it done.
Fine.
All right, next game. Atlanta Falcons, Arizona Cardinals. Yeah.
Fuck the Falcons.
Yeah, I like the Cards money line in this situation. I hope it doesn't come back to bite me. I think K1 is back, and I think that I know that a lot of people, I know it's funny and cute. He likes Call of Duty. He doesn't study tape. He doesn't do this on the third. 2 years ago, with a very mediocre team, they went 10-0. Kyler Murray was an MVP candidate. He tweaks his ankle. He misses 4 weeks. They lose in the first round of the playoffs. Okay, whatever, it happens. Kyler Murray is a legit MVP candidate when he's healthy in this league. I really like their weapons, actually. I think Michael Wilson out of Stanford's actually kind of a decent receiver, has been playing well for them. Trey McBride set the single game catch record for a tight end in Cardinals history the last time that he played. He's a pretty good young player. Him and Hollywood Brown played together in college. They have a clear connection. Rondale Moore can be a gadget guy. I think he does well with these weapons, and I'm excited to see James Conner's back this week off of the IR. I think they get their running game back a little bit. I like them to beat the Falcons.
So you said 2 years ago he was an MVP candidate?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we still have to wait and see. I want to see him get a couple games under his belt before I go back to agreeing that he is an elite quarterback. I think he's good, but I need to see some games. I need to see how things go. Obviously, a completely different team, completely different coaching, all of that too. And especially coming off, especially injuries in back-to-back years, that never bodes well. But again, I want to see a couple games. I was going to ask you if James Conner comes back. I think that you said he is. I think that's huge. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Falcons this game. Is it
Taylor
Heineke
Heineke
again? Yeah. I actually think we get a shootout. I think I like the over 43, but I also do like the Cardinals. I will be rooting for K1, and I think getting James Conner back definitely helps.
Yeah. Per sources, obviously, K1 has been a sponge all season. He's healthy.
How's he looked in this? How's he looked in practice?
They've eased him back into things. I know that there was a lot of speculation around them keeping him off the field for the last 2 weeks, but you are easing him back into things rather than throwing him back out there. That doesn't do justice for anybody. Could he have played against the Browns last week? Sure. But what does going up against the Browns defense in your first game back do anything for you? It just doesn't.
Not a thing.
What, Myles Garrett's gonna fucking eat you alive? Like, that doesn't do anything for your confidence. It doesn't do anything for team building. It was smart to hold him out. From what I've heard, he looks sharp. He looks ready. He's ready to go. From a quote from somebody inside the building is that he hasn't lost a step. We'll see how that looks this weekend.
Yeah, I completely agree with the Cardinals not playing him last week, even if he was ready. There's zero reason for them to throw him out there to the literal wolves in his first week back. It doesn't do anything for anybody. And that's probably a game that they thought that would be a loss coming into the season anyways. So giving him that additional week to get ready, come in and play a lesser Falcons team, I think is a good call. I'm excited to see how he looks.
Bro, I don't know why I just fought for Kenny Pickett so hard. I hate Kenny Pickett. He's
I was wondering that same thing too.
I just did it.
What is happening?
I literally just did it just to yell because I just wanted to.
I thought you were a Steelers fan for a second.
No, I literally hate Kenny Pickett. I think he's terrible. I just wanted to argue. Like, I literally hate him every week. I'm like, dude, he sucks. Like, I just think I do the real take that I do have though is I don't think George Pickens is that good, but
that's fair.
Whatever.
And that Matt Canada fucking sucks.
Yeah, that's all true. I do think Kenny sucks though. I just wanted to argue. The next game on the slate here is the Detroit Lions and the LA Chargers. Bro, I actually low key really like this game. I think that the Lions should win this football game, but I also like the way the Chargers have been playing, and I think that this is kind of a toss-up in the air. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, if you were to remove all the lines and everything for this game and all you saw was Lions at Chargers, my initial take would be that this line should be probably like 4.5, 5 points. And the fact that it's sitting at 2.5 is what's kind of throwing me off. The Chargers have definitely played better. Lions are coming off a bye, I think.
Yes.
So that even more leads me to believe that the Lions should be more of a favorite in this game. I don't know what to think. I think this is going to be a good game. Chargers are playing good football. They just beat up on a solid Jets defense. Now that defense was probably on the field for 3/4 of the game, but whatever. I don't know. I'm torn in this one. Yeah. I think this is a trap.
Yeah, I think it's a trap too. I like the Chargers. I'm going to wait for the public to bet this to 3 because I think the Lions are going to be an extremely heavily bet team. I like the under in this game though a lot.
I think I heard on a podcast, it might have been Simmons, it might have been Rosillo, but they were talking about the Chargers' run defense being better than what it seems. And if the Chargers' run defense comes to play and they have to make Jared Goff throw the ball like 45 times, I can see a Chargers team. I can see the Chargers winning. But also at the same time, are they getting back
yes, David Montgomery.
Receiver? Well, yes, I was going to ask about him, but the Chargers are missing a receiver. Kelly.
Josh Palmer?
Palmer, yeah. Is he coming back?
No.
He had a knee injury.
He's on the IR.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This one's a toss-up to me. I do like the under, actually, but I'm torn. I'm torn on this because everything points to the Lions being a decently a much bigger favorite than 2.5. They're getting their bell cow running back. They've actually got things kind of moving with Josh Gibbs, and they're coming off a bye. Jahmyr Gibbs, sorry, and they're well rested. And I don't know, it's really throwing me off.
All right, next game. This is the game that we should literally just take like Cowboys minus 35.5 and just see what happens.
Yeah, Tommy DeVito is going to be starting.
I mean, why not? Like, why not try?
Who's the backup to him going to be? Like, the
fuck, I forget who it is. I saw it earlier today. It's somebody that we know. Yeah,
Adam Brenneman.
Yeah, it's Adam Brenneman. I mean, I think the Cowboys steamroll them, but I mean, it doesn't really say too much. I think that I might take an alternate line in this game and see what happens.
It's Matt Barkley.
Yeah, Matt Barkley. That's it.
They should start Matt Barkley. Tommy DeVito can't even throw the football.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but Yeah, I'm gonna see. I might take a big alt line and just like
minus 35.
Like minus 35.5 is plus 1100. Like I don't know. I mean, I just feel like you don't really have an opportunity to like do this too much.
If you're the Giants, you might as well just pack it in.
I mean, what do you want them to do? They're forced to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, don't even try to win. Like, actually, I guess just start Tommy DeVito. Sit Saquon.
No, don't do that. I have him in fantasy. Don't.
You're right. I have him too. But if I'm Saquon, I'd say, hey, fuck you. I'm not playing.
He's not going to do that because
I know he loves the game too much. I know he loves ball too much.
So I think that I might take the over in this game and pair it with like Cowboys minus 40. I mean, bro, they
take the over in the Giants and the Cowboys.
Bro, they beat them 40-10, right?
Yeah, this could easily be 45-0. I wouldn't even blink if somebody was like, yeah, Cowboys won 45-0 against the Giants this weekend. Wouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, so
the Giants might not even make it past the 50-yard line unless they start the drive past the 50-yard line.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I'm on the Cowboys. I'm gonna just take something completely random and just like hope for the best.
There is a stat though that whenever there's a spread that's like 2 touchdowns or more, it gets covered at like a crazy rate or something. I could be making that up.
So just take 16.5 and just chill. It's probably the smart thing to do. The next game is the Commanders and the Seahawks. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably I like the Seahawks in a bounce back spot.
Yeah, I do too. After getting just smoked last week. I mean, the Commanders just don't. The only teams that the Commanders play well against are like the Eagles. So this feels like a game.
So true.
This feels like a game that the Seahawks probably end up winning by, and it's at home too. Like Commanders got to travel across the country. I like the Seahawks a lot in this one. I like a -6. That'll probably end up being a teaser in my teaser.
Yeah, I like that. Get right game for the Seahawks. Jets, Raiders for this next game. I mean, everything says the Jets, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, you're out of your goddamn mind if you think that I'm betting on Zach Wilson.
Yeah, but like the other side is Aiden O'Connell. That's what I'm saying. Like everything points to the Jets in this spot.
I think it points to the Raiders.
Really?
I think, yeah, I think it's at home for the Raiders. I think the Jets just looked like an abomination on Monday Night Football. The Raiders are playing with all the momentum, new coach, high vibes. I think everything points towards a sneaky Jets W, but I will not be betting on the Jets. I think you froze. You hear me? Did you hear what I said?
Yeah. No, what'd you say?
Yeah, I think everything points to to betting on the Raiders. At home, just fired their coach. They really like the guy they have in there now. High vibes coming off of a huge win. The Jets look terrible on Monday night. Didn't score a touchdown. I think everything points to the Raiders, and I think we could end up getting a sneaky Jets W.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, I love, after you just said all that, I love the Jets. I just think I think the Raiders are going to fall back to planet Earth a little bit here. So, yeah, I think I like the Jets in the spot.
I think this game will eventually get to, like the Raiders. I think this game gets to a pick 'em.
Okay.
At some point, just because I think the public's going to be all over the Raiders.
I mean, I can't believe that this is even a conversation to be had about this game. It's going to be so bad. Like, It's going to be everybody always complaining about the bad primetime games. Like, this is definitely one of those games that have a potential to be like a really bad primetime game.
Yeah, this game could very well be like 12-6. All field goals.
Man, hey, maybe we can take no touchdowns scored. No touchdowns scored.
I'm all in on that too. Let's see. Can you go to that and see if there's a line for like total field goals?
Let's see. Not yet.
Is this an overtime game?
No. I mean, like, what a crazy. Like, it's gonna be so bad.
Horrible.
All right. Last game on the card for this weekend is Broncos Bills. Man, I'll let you know one thing. This is going to be a very unpopular pick. I think that I'm going to take either the Broncos plus 7.5 or the Broncos money line.
I knew you were going to do that, and I don't think it's that unpopular of a pick because I also like the Broncos in this situation.
Yeah, Russ is going to cook.
I think he's going to cook up just enough to cover 7.5. The Bills are just playing bad ball right now, and I would not feel confident laying 7.5 with the way that they've been playing right now.
Not at all.
And the Broncos are playing much better these last couple weeks. So I love the Broncos. Sorry,
my dad just texted me.
What did he say?
He asked me if there was any college basketball games that I like tonight. I just don't know. So that's what I've been. He's been sending me screenshots of the games, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Just let me finish real quick.
I can pull up. I know there's one good game on later, unless it already started.
To finish off the week, though.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that everybody. 7.5 is entirely too many points for how the Bills have been playing. Second, everybody like publicly and like are they're gonna sit here and be like, oh, the Bills against the Broncos. The Broncos got 70 hung on them. The Bills are gonna absolutely torch this game. Like, that's just the way everybody that doesn't actually pay attention is gonna think about this game. So I just like the Broncos like a ton.
That game. They said this on, it might have been part of my take, but the game of the Dolphins and the Broncos and then the Cowboys losing to the Cardinals, like, ruined the public's perspective on those four teams.
Yeah.
Because now people are expecting the Dolphins to put up 45 plus points every game. We were high on the Cardinals for a couple weeks. We knew when to get off that bandwagon.
True.
The Cowboys are much better, I think, than we initially thought after that loss to the Cardinals. And then the Broncos, which we were right about, they were playing god-awful, and they're playing much better now. So it's just a matter of watching week in and week out rather than just relying on like a week 4 game.
I mean, you know how much football I consume on a week-to-week basis. It's borderline concerning, but like I will literally sit here and watch every single game like pretty hard. And like you just like when you do that, it's always like, oh, like anything, literally like anything can happen. Like,
like we always say, it's week to week football.
Yeah, it's not like styles make fights, and that's a lot of what you have to kind of realize when you're looking at each slate and being like, okay, like why would Josh Allen not be good in this spot or whatever it would be, and like that's just kind of the way you have to look at it. Styles make fights, and majority of the time, almost every single NFL game is going to probably be close.
Yeah, I mean, rarely we see. I mean, obviously, we don't really see the 16 and a half. Those types of games are the outliers. But, I mean, if you go through the spread, I would say for the week or week by week, I would say the average is probably like 5.5, 5,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Like the Vegas line is what, 3.5 to like
4.5.
four and a
Four and a
half,
half to
5.
5.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that's where it really resides. Anybody can win any week, and like I said, we say that every week. Um, but yeah, I think in this instance, 7.5 is probably too much for this game, just because of we say it's week to week, but you also kind of have to take into account if there is a very bad outlier week, like we saw with that Cowboys Cardinals and then um, that Dolphins Broncos game. Those weeks can like almost kind of be thrown out the window in the grand scheme of things if you look at it, because the Broncos haven't played that bad like the any other moment in the season, really. And the
Yeah.
Cowboys haven't played that bad any other moment in the season. And the Cardinals haven't played that good. And the Dolphins haven't played that good any other year. So, like, especially this year, I don't think the gap between some of these middle to bottom teams, is that large. Like, I think the gap between like the Ravens, I mean, I guess not. I get like the Eagles lost to the Jets. Like, the gap
Yeah.
isn't as big as we
The
all think
Raven.
it is.
I mean, the Ravens lost to the Steelers. Like, you just literally never know what could happen on a week to week basis, and that's kind of why you can't like you can't
overreact
overreact.
about a week. Yeah.
You can't overreact about a week, but what you can do is like a good. I think a good example for this year is the Bills. Like, we have been saying since the beginning of the season, like we'll see about their roster. Then their key pieces on their roster get hurt. Now it's like, oh well, like now I don't really even like their roster at all because they don't have anybody really. Like, you're like pretty much relying on Josh Allen to have a masterclass and Stephon Diggs to have 15 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like, and maybe Gabe Davis can have one game where he has 100 yards. It's
Yeah.
just like they're in a bad spot.
And that's not realistic week in and week out to have your quarterback and receivers. And I mean, hell, even get a big game out of James Cook and they're not getting shit from him. So,
Seriously.
like, they're just in a bad spot.
Well,
And they just might continue. It might continue to get worse.
I think so too. And I think it starts with a Broncos loss at home on Monday Night Football. Broncos country, let's ride.
Broncos country, let's ride.
That's all I have for this week. I mean, if you have anything else you want to talk about,
no, I think that covers it. We pretty much touched on everything that I wanted to touch on. So I think I'm good.
All right, brother. Good episode. I'll text you.
All right, go Birds.
See you, brother.
Bye.